All right, we're going to do lesson 3-4, which is solving equations in the form of ax plus b equals c. And equations in that form do create linear equations. All right, let's first look at what 3-1, 3-2 were, okay, to lead up to 3-4. 3-1 was graphing linear patterns, so what's a constant increase and what's a constant decrease, okay? 3-2 was using your graphing calculator to take an equation such as 100 equals 10 plus 3d, turning it into y equals 10 plus 3d, and then using your graphing calculator to find the answer for d by either going through your table and searching until you got to 100 in the y column, and then looking to see what d that gives you. And in this case, I should have said actually not d here, but 3x. Okay, so you're really in the graphing calculator, you're solving for x. So you change this to this, put it in your graphing calculator, and scan down in the y column until you get to a d, or x in this case, where the y is 100. The other way you can do it is using it with a graph, and you again put that equation of 100 equals 10 plus 3d into the y1 equals, tracing along your graph until you get to something close to 100, writing down your estimate for d, well, in this case for x, because that's how you enter it into your graphing calculator, and then using the calc button to check your estimate. All right, so that was 3-1 and 3-2. We're skipping 3-3 because it has to do with computer-assisted software, and we don't really need to worry about that. Now let's talk about what we really care about today, which is 3-4. Okay, 3-4 allows you to solve equations in this form in 2 steps, and we've jokingly named these in prior algebra classes as step 1 is kill Bill, and step 2 is annihilate Anna. And you're going to see why we call them that in just a second. Okay, so that's the big idea. You can solve an equation in this form in 2 major steps. The homework is to read 3-4. Do not just start the homework without reading it. Do read it. It is important. After you've read it, do 1 through 21 odd, skip a couple, and then do 27 and 29. Show all your work. Do your graphs accurately. All right, the first thing they talk about in 3-4 is this fellow named René Descartes, who was a French philosopher as well as a French mathematician. And one of his most famous things that he said as a philosopher is, I think, therefore I am. And you can talk to Miss Easy or somebody who's very knowledgeable about philosophy about René Descartes. But we're going to talk about René Descartes in terms of his contribution to mathematics, because one of the things that René Descartes is famous for is in situations with algebra, he's the one who said, well, you know what? Algebra is a language, math is a language, and from now on, we're going to use A, B, and C when we mean known quantities, and we're going to use X, Y, and Z when we mean unknown quantities. So when we have this equation here, this A down here, even though it looks like a variable, it's actually standing in for a number, a known number. The B is standing in for a known number, and so is the C. The only one that is the thing we're actually solving for is the unknown, is that X right there. All right, so how do we solve for that X? Like I said, there's 2 steps, 2 easy schmeezy steps to do this. Step number 1, we're going to kill Bill. Remember, B is this guy right here. So in this equation, this is our B. This is our A, and this is our C. A is -5, B is 18, and C is 24. All right? So we got to get rid of B, the 18. So it's in the right form. So we're ready to go. We're going to subtract 18 from both sides. Subtracting 18 from the left side brings us just where we have -5x left. Subtracting 18 from the right side gives us where we have just 6 left. Well, the only way you can do stuff like that is to use a property, and what we did is we used the subtraction property of equality. So to get rid of Bill, you're going to either subtract something from both sides, or you're going to add something to both sides, okay? Whatever you need to do to get rid of b, and you're going to use one of those two properties. Once you've killed Bill, the next thing you're going to do is step 2, annihilate Anna, which is a. Okay, well there's our a, and that's what we're, the -5, that's what we're trying to get rid of. So how do we get rid of -5? Well, we either divide by -5, or we multiply by the reciprocal, or also called the multiplicative inverse of -5, which is 1 over -5. And we do that to both sides. When we do it to the left side, we end up with just x, because the reciprocal makes this whole thing here become 1. When we do it to the right side, we end up with -6/5. So what we solved for was x, which was -6/5. Kill Bill, get rid of Bill. Annihilate Anna, get rid of a. Okay, well what if it's not in the form of ax plus b equals c? Well, you got to simplify it until you get it into that form, and then once you get it into that form, then you kill Bill and annihilate Anna. So here's a word problem from your book. We've got a zookeeper who's making $10.80 per hour, but she also gets reimbursed for her meals, and she spent $8 on meals, and she gets reimbursed for her transportation, and she spent $3 on her transportation. Well, they gave her a check of $83.90, and they want us to figure out how many hours did she work. All right, so we know she gets paid $10.80 per hour. She got $8 of that check was for meals, $3 of that check was for transportation, and the whole check was $83.90. It's not in this form yet. Okay, there's too much in that equation to be in that form yet. But if we combine like terms, and we end up with this equation, 10.80h plus 11 equals 83.90, we're now in the right form. And a is 10.80, b is 11, and c is 83.90. All right, so now we're ready to kill Bill and annihilate Anna. All right, so we need to get rid of Bill. Bill's 11. B's 11. We can either add something to both sides or subtract something to both sides. And in this case, we're going to subtract 11 from both sides. Okay? When we subtract it from the left side, all we have left is the 1080h. When we subtract it from the right side, what we have left is 7290. So we've killed Bill. We've gotten rid of the b. Now we're going to annihilate Anna. Step 2. To annihilate Anna, we either need to multiply something to both sides or divide something to both sides. So since we have 1080 here, I can either divide both sides by 1080, or I can multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 1080. Okay? And when I do that, I get h on the left-hand side, and when I do the exact same thing to the right-hand side, I get $6.70. I'm sorry, yeah, not $6.75, but 6.75 hours. So she worked 6.75 hours. All right, try another one. Kill Bill and annihilate Anna. Here's one of those rectangles like we had in Chapter 2, where they have a small rectangle and a big rectangle, and they say, let's look at the area of the biggest rectangle. Okay? That whole area is 94 square centimeters. But they ask us, what's the value of n? They want to know that number right there. Okay? Well, we can solve this using ax plus b equals c if we get it into this form. But right now we have 4, which is the one side, times this, which is the other side, gives us the area. And that's clearly not in ax plus b equals c. Well, first thing we want to do is add like terms. Okay? And we want to take this 3 and this 10 and commute them and add them together and get 13. Okay? All right, that worked. We still do not have this form yet. So we want to distribute the 4 to the 13 and get 52, and distribute the 4 to the n and get 4n. So now we've used the distributive property of addition over multiplication, and we're here. Okay, 52 plus 4n equals 94. We're almost at the right form. The only thing we now need to do is commute. Use the commutative property to get it in the right form. Okay, so if we put this first, that's ax, 4n is ax, 52 is b, and 94 is c. So if we do that, we're in the right form. A is 4, B is 52, C is 94. Now we're ready to kill Bill and annihilate Anna. Okay? All right. So we got to get rid of B. Kill Bill. B is 52. So we need to subtract 52 from both sides. When we subtract 52 from both sides, the only thing we're left with on the left is 4n, and what we're left with on the right is 42. Then we have to annihilate Anna. To get rid of Anna, Anna is 4n, okay? Or 4 rather. Anna is 4, A, not really Anna. A is 4. We've got to get rid of that. The way to get rid of 4 is to either divide by 4 or multiply by the inverse of 4, also known as the reciprocal. And when we do that, we get rid of the 4, and we have just n on the left-hand side. And 42 times 1/4 gives us 10.5 on the right-hand side. Okay? So 10.5 is n. Right there. That's 10.5. So this side is 3 plus 10.5 plus 10, and that whole side is 23.5. All right, last thing. Sometimes things aren't in a nice pretty form of ax plus b equals c. They're in the wrong places. Like this guy, or they just kind of look weird. This guy, actually that is ax, but that's not plus b. Okay, now that is c. Okay, so really what you have right now is ax plus a negative b. This, subtracting 53 is the same thing as adding a negative 53. So b is negative 53. And that's the only unusual part of that one. All right, the next one, this is c, this is a, and again, this is b. B again is a negative 53 because this is in the form of c equals ax plus a negative b. Okay, so watch those negatives. All right, then we have a third one. This is c equals b plus ax. C equals negative b, really, plus ax. See, because that guy's right there. Okay, so a is still 3/2, b is a negative 53, and c is still 7. And then back to the fourth one. This is b plus ax equals c. Okay, or negative b rather, the opposite of b, plus ax equals c. A, once again, b is negative 3 and c is 7. Now, obviously the things you have to keep in mind is c is the item that is always all alone by himself, lonely little c, all by himself on one side. Okay? C is always by himself. Okay? A is the thing that's always with the unknown, the variable. And B is the other one. And the other thing you have to keep in track of is make sure those negatives don't mess you up. You need to get your equation in this form. And if it's written with a negative right here like this, then you need to rewrite it so that you have a plus in the middle by doing that. Or you have to possibly commute them around and get them in the right order. Okay? So just commute things around and be careful of your negatives.